Architecture is a collective experience. It's not a private experience. When we walk through spaces, there's a collective energy, and certainly music is one of the most collective forces in the human race. There's nothing more powerful than a group of singing gospel music in a church, that totally brings out a certain level of emotion. Architecture is about emotion, to try to bring back emotion. What can you do? What do you want to talk about? Music is a wonderful way, is a wonderful tool, because it's packed with that emotion. It has the potential to make you cry. And I think architecture should have the potential to make you cry, it makes me cry. Certain buildings make me cry, but, that's my problem, right? For me, there is a deep analogy between music and architecture. Sculpture you can turn away from, painting you can turn away from, but music is an immersive experience. It's all around you, as is architecture. And I made this little equation which I use to explain this kind of condition. Music is like material times sound over time, whereas architecture is like material times light over space. So sound is to music as light is to architecture, which is really about the perception of, the different kinds of perception that we have between conditions of light, conditions of texture, conditions of space, spatial overlap. All of those are analogous to conditions in music. Well, this is a project for a new town in Tianjin, which is going to be the center of the new town. So it's a project for a planning museum and an ecology museum. And what's interesting is the acoustic space that's created between. And basically it's a rectangle that's sort of carved out, and the void that's carved out becomes the solid of the other building, which is forming the public space. But what's interesting, let's say, in both of them, if you see the insides, is the enormously resonant acoustic space that's created in all the public spaces that move through the buildings. Another way of looking at music and architecture is through notation, like what we did in the Dayang Gallery and Residence. A project which was the ideal client. He said, I want a gallery space, place for music concerts and poetry readings, and some guest house above. And I struggled. I did 30 different schemes. I had a real hard time with that project. And then I sort of threw everything out, and I walked over to my library and I picked out a book by John Cage called Notations, and I opened it up to a graphic diagram by Arnholt from 1963 for a symphony of modules. And it was a piece that was never played before because it had so many in the orchestra. And I used that diagram to organize my spaces. And it was wonderful because it gave me 59 skylights. It gave me the shape of the pavilions above. Below this, just acoustic space and gallery space. And the exciting thing was, I never could connect with him. He was 93 and he died while we were working on the house. He's lived in Canada. But the house got a lot of press and it went up on the internet. And his widow sent us an email that said, I was Googling my husband's name and I was very surprised to see a house built on a piece of music that he never had a chance to perform. And so she was very, we had some interchange with her back and forth. So it had a second life. She was very happy about the fact that her husband's piece of unplayed music had a second life.